What's going on, everybody? My name is Justin Godsey for the Football Source. Thank you so much for checking out today's NFL Week 3 game recap video. We are recapping the Atlanta Falcons at home, taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is probably one of the most simplest videos I have ever had to make on this channel because tonight was a complete dominating victory for the Atlanta Falcons as they just completely, dominated the entire, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The offense was on quo for the Atlanta Falcons. The defense was just playing out of their mind tonight. They win 56-14. Yes, I said that correctly. 56-14. It was 35-0 going into halftime, and then when they come out into the third quarter, they tack on an extra 21 points to make the final score 56-14. The Atlanta Falcons just completely decimated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay was lucky to get 14 points on the board tonight. They scored 14 in the fourth quarter due to the fact that the Atlanta Falcons were playing a ton of their backups by the time the fourth quarter came about. TJ Yates had an appearance today. He threw an interception, but you know what? That's nothing, to really, settle on. It was all about the play of the Atlanta Falcons offense. Devin Hester had one of the most emotional, speeches on NFL Network tonight. He pretty much attributed everything to Deion Sanders tonight. If you guys wanted to go and check that out, I guarantee you can find it on NFL Total Access or or whatever the case may be in future highlights. But Devin Hester becomes the first, he breaks the NFL record for more kick returns for a touchdown with I think 20. That's an NFL record. Congrats to Devin Hester being one of the greatest kick returners, probably the greatest kick returner in NFL history. He's right up there, right next to Deion Sanders, and having his name next to Deion Sanders for breaking that record, it's a he earned it. He earned every single moment of it. When he left Chicago, I had a lot of doubts that he was going to end up making a huge impact. For the beyond Chicago. In the final year or the final couple of seasons with Chicago, he was kind of misused. He wasn't always that shine on me kind of player like he was when he first broke into this league. He fell off a little bit onto the map. He fell off the map into Chicago. Atlanta decides to give him an opportunity. I love the addition of Devin Hester with the Dirty Birds of the Atlanta Falcons. He's going to have a very successful career. He's picking up the slack from what happened the past couple of years. So great job to Devin Hester on breaking the record for more kick returns for touchdowns in the National Football League. Congratulations. Now, a lot of praise to the Atlanta Falcons. Is there any praise we can give to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I cannot say a single thing good about this Buccaneers team. You know what? Giving up 56 points, your offense couldn't get anything going. Your defense tremendously was just, god awful. I hate bashing these teams, but we have to be legitimately, what we saw on the field. We have to be fair. We have to be really logic about what happened. We got to show, we got to say what we have to say. It seemed like in the first quarter that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to get something going. There was, a fumble occurred by Devin Hester, but or the tight end of the Atlanta Falcons, but you know what? From there, it just seemed to lose the ball because when that ball was caught by one of the defensive backs for the Buccaneers, he automatically dropped the ball, fumbled it, and Devin Hester was able to pick it back up. But from there, it started to become domination time. Julio Jones had a good day. The defensive backs for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was supposed to be the X factor. How could they hold up against Julio Jones? Roddy White was inactive tonight. Everything was going down the drain from the start of the entire first quarter. It was 21-0 by the end of 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Tampa Bay's defense, the offensive line was nothing going. Josh McCown was pulled from the game after the first quarter. Josh McCown is well on his way of probably being benched for the remainder of the year. By the way, we're 3 games into the season. He's 0-3. Nothing great is coming from Josh McCown. He's supposed to be that lucky savior for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but nothing has ever came Josh McCown's way. Yeah, he's given us some mediocre fantasy points, but then again, he's already thrown 4 or 5 interceptions on the year, and going up against a Tampa Bay Atlanta Falcons defensive back score, which had its questions. It certainly had its questions, but Josh McCown, this was the game where he can really make a statement for himself, but he certainly did not make any chance or any effort to really put that team on his back, and that is one of the biggest flaws for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's the poor quarterback play. I give a lot of praise over to Bobby Rainey. That's the only thing I can really give praise for, because Bobby Rainey is picking up the slack from a lost Doug Martin. I picked up Doug Martin on a fantasy wire, hopefully that he can be back and hopefully that he can contribute in a big way to this team. But Bobby Rainey seems to have everything already notched up out there in Tampa Bay. 0-3 the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fall to after today's loss to the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta, goes on top 2-1 to start, the 3-game stretch of the year. Congratulations, great job to Devin Hester once again. One of the best kick returners in the National Football League. The Atlanta Falcons defeat the Buccaneers 56-14. My name is Justin Godsey for the Football Source. Thank you so much for checking out tonight's video. Make sure you guys keep on subscribing to our channel. We would love to give you guys more football coverage on a 24/7 basis, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of great coverage coming from you guys. College football, NFL. We're going to do some CFL videos here coming up soon. We also have a podcast coming, so make sure you guys keep on checking out our videos and keep on tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time, and make sure you guys keep